Let's welcome our viewers. We are joined today by Lonwabo Marele. This man is a multimedia journalist and an entrepreneur. And we're just going to take some time and chat to him about his journey, his career, and what the future plans are within his space. Lonwabo, welcome to this platform.
Thanks for the invite. Igama as you mentioned, Lonwabo Marele, uDlamini uZizwe Jamakasijad Fakati, ngcono boy. Originally from Port Elizabeth, and I'm here in Cape Town now for 7-8 years because of studying and work and entrepreneurship. Yeah, it's great to be on the podcast.
Wow, welcome, man. And let's chat about your career and just try to find out from you, how did you find yourself interested in journalism?
All right, fantastic. So Lonwabo Marele is a sports journalist, is an entrepreneur, as well as a philanthropist. So how I found myself in journalism is immediately after high school, then from the MU College, Boys High School, Tinach in the Eastern Cape. So immediately when I came back, or when I came to Cape Town, I wanted to study either law, journalism, or marketing. So I ended up choosing journalism, and that because law, what is but yeah, I ended up choosing journalism, and because of the love for sport, I started volunteering and then working for companies and sports clubs such as the IX Cape Town as a social media intern, and then Bush Radio as a radio presenter, and then a couple of other clubs as well as publications at the time. But it was all during his school hours. So every time I finished the class, then I would go there for la experience and to mingle around with Abana Basebenza Payan. And then, mostly the people with family, they into sports and music. And then on my mom's side, she's into sports as well as music. And on my dad's side, full on sports. So it was just normal for me to go into sports. And then I played a few sports as well: soccer, cricket, rugby, colors for cross country, and then athletics, and then a bit of chess every now and then. But recently, I also found some love with boxing, which is one of the sports I cover as well. And then, I graduated from Cape Peninsula University of Technology with a national diploma in 2016. And then in 2018, a bachelor in technology for journalism. And since then, I've worked at the Cape Times, the Cape Argus, as well as Inside Man Media, and then at the moment with the Cape Community newspapers. So I'm currently a multimedia sports journalist for 15 Cape Community newspapers.
Wow, yeah. That's a lot that you write. So let's talk about the influence of the family, because I think many of us, have experienced that along the way in our lives, that family kind of plays a key role for one to get involved in any industry. Did anyone say to you, this is the direction you should take, or was it something that was around you that influenced you? Or,
Yeah. It was just normal. It was just normal because immediately, not just in my family, but the whole community, from Enyu Priority, and then we moved to Ezwide. Just the family as well. Everyone was into sports and music. So it was normal for me to go in one of the two. So I just tried to balance it, and then Itima is into sports as well, and Oleti, we're always talking sports. So sport. So it was that normal.
Yeah. Now, as you enter the space, after your studies and maybe during your internship program as well, how did you find the industry? Was it easier for you to break through? And what some of the moves that you had to make, to sort of come through the door?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily easy. It was a challenge, but I mean, each challenge is what we live for each and every day. Because immediately when you get the challenge, you have two options. Either you're going to back down or you're going to forward. So for instance, I didn't immediately go into sport. I had to find different angles. So studying kwindaba, writing news, to entertainment, to other beats or other stories per se. So it wasn't necessarily directly straight into sport, although I knew that I will initially end up with sport industry.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment, because when one studies, the hope is to just go straight into what they've studied for. And that is something that some people don't realize, that there are certain techniques that you have to apply along the way in order for you to get to where you want to be, and not necessarily that it will be a straight path.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So here's what happened. While I was doing my second year, because I did my first year at Damelin College, right? And then the second year I got credited to a CPUT. Now, immediately when I got there, I already had a plan of what I wanted to achieve that year. So one of the things is it's important to draft down what you want to learn to work towards. So that year, one of my goals was to work for a sports club. They don't have to pay me as long as I'm just there getting the experience, because this is the second year. So by luck, Ellis Paulser, who was a classmate of mine, who brother wake, Nathan Paulser. I'm sure you remember Nathan Paulser, the striker, yes, for Ajax. Yeah. So my big conversation, and luckily I got to bump into him. Then Then Ellis, the following week, hey, Ajax, they're looking for a social media intern, and I was like, yeah, I'm available, because I'm getting to go there once or twice a week. So I was like, okay, so what I will do is I'm gonna try to save from Clemandi Niguaindlin, and it was like 500 for the whole month, so it was nothing. So I had to balance between that. But what I did was I formed like a small group areas where Singamachita, we help each other out. So if this is what you're trying to specialize in, we're gonna help you. And this is what I was trying to specialize into sports. So we were helping each other out. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Benisia at the Krendel, we IX to report that side. And then I'll come back, work on school. And then every week I do the same thing. And then on match days as well, helping out with social media. That helped so much, because the end up the breakthrough with industry just by that. And I didn't even graduate yet. So I was being able to get la professionalism, and it was amazing. It was one of the best experiences ever.
Yeah. Just take us through the transition, because when one is sitting and attending classes, looking for that piece of paper, which is so important, the other side of the experience seems to be overlooked, because sometimes the work as well is overwhelming. And so how did you find that transition for yourself, where you had to balance between your education and getting your qualification, and at the same time looking after this experience, which is so valuable for you to break through the industry?
Yeah. So for me personally, it was a matter of discipline. So I knew that this is the industry I want to break through into. And this is what I currently have at school. And then back at home, Kulanji. So either way, whatever I do, I can't mess it up, but I can make something of myself. So it was a bit tough, because I was still young, some party next or Cologne. So it was a matter of just balancing and saying, okay, yeah, it's either a desired party, but disabalating on success and late, or bandi look for an hour, then dependent buyele dilal. And sometimes it was ish. but we ended up making it work because discipline is one of the things that was instilled in me from a very young age.
Wow. Yeah, many of us needed that, and I think that this conversation will also inspire so many students that are looking forward to enter into any industry. And looking back now at your first article, if you can remember that you or story that you were entrusted with, that you had to go investigate and and tell the story as it happens within communities.
Yeah. Okay. It was funny enough. It was a news story. It was a news story for the Cape Argus. So what happened was, so from IX, I went to Inside Man Media, which is a social media marketing company. I was a social media intern as well as a social media strategist. And then I went to the Cape Argus because I wanted to transition into like proper journalism. So I went to the Cape Argus. At the Cape Argus, I was job shadowing for about a month and then did an internship for about 6 months. And then I moved to the Cape Times. But the first article I wrote when I was there was on the day that Steve Biko was murdered. It was at Khayelitsha. I know it was a Mandalay. So Mamu Sisun was there speaking, and then luckily that I'm a photographer Pando. I'm gonna be a Mazu Pando Chicken. Oh yeah, in fact, yeah, Mazu Pando Chicken.
Yeah.
So I was with Uput Pando. Then we went there, and then I was covering that story. It was so amazing because I was like, hey, to one face to face, and I usually see her with TV, but now she's here. This is it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first story. It was just a recap on Utatu Steve Biko, as well as the teachings that he had done in his life. Yeah.
Mm. Wow. So you were tasked with such a big story, commemoration of Steve Biko, and here you are, making your way into the industry, and that, probably that's one of the stories that actually motivated you to, to strive for greater heights and even do bigger things in the future. I mean, as we move closer now to some of the community stories that you've covered, what are some of the most closest stories that you when you look back, even if it was yesterday or any given day, that you look back at it and you say, you made a difference? Because this is about telling people stories. It may be challenging times as well that the story needs to be published, or it may be through an achievement that one has achieved within the community.
I would say most of them, like 99% of the stories, there's always going to be that 1%, right? 99% of the stories, because with community stories, it's a bit different to commercial stories. So for instance, with the commercial stories, the everyday stories that we see, it's more of what is happening in the now and then for tomorrow. Whereas with community stories, you take it a bit deeper. You dig a bit deeper, or your local community alone. Then the story is not just about that person that you're writing about, but their background, their community, and what this is an achievement for local community. So for instance, I have a couple in mind right now. I was doing a story on Utataka Apupaka Mopar. Ile chap idlala i-Pirates, ne?
Yeah, I
Idlala
think.
i-Pirates
Yeah,
the national team.
yeah. I think we see to
Cape Town
Bankundla.
City,
Yes,
yes, Cape
yes,
Town City, sorry.
yes.
So Itamaka Abubakar Mopara is actually a weightlifter, and people don't know that. But because of it's a community story, we get to write about these stories. And then seeing it was Umna on 9 years old, and she's a tennis player, was a Khayelitsha. She recently made the provincial team, but not a lot of people knew about that. And Lamnana, she went through some struggles with family. She almost couldn't play. Utatake lost his job. Then he had to move from Epai to this side, and then he had to transport her each and every day. But because being in a sebenzi, bengakwazi yenza loo nto qho. But luckily, point i-academy le iphayana yakwazi ubancedisa uba bakwazi badibane halfway. And now she's currently playing for the provincial team as well.
Wow.
And then a recent 2 stories I've written as well is this young kid from Athlone, Jared van der Berg. He's currently in the Cape Town City setup as well. And he is just so close to making the PSL team. Yeah. So big shout out to him. Mm-hmm. And then if you check today's Vukani newspaper and the Southern Tatler, there's a story about Upu Gerald Nomlala, was a Khayelitsha philanthropist. He will be walking from November 8th, which is next week. He'll be walking from Cape Town to Episho in order to raise funds for 40,000 school shoes for children from previously disadvantaged areas. So like stories like that to me is more than just a sports story, but it's that community impact, that social impact that it has in changing a people's life. Yeah.
Wow, touching stories. And I think like many of us, there are so much influences that are happening within communities, and it's good to see publications pushing these stories and pushing the boundaries so that people know what's going on, and that, you know, there's always a story behind the story. You know, there are other people who are behind the scenes who are pushing these individuals, who are supporting these individuals. I mean, like yourself, where you were given a 500 rands to survive for a month, and look where it has placed you today. And it has to do with looking at the value, you know, and knowing how to make use of that value. Let's transition into your entrepreneurship. How did this now came about, and you know, what pushed you, what interests you into this space?
Yeah. So one thing I've always told myself is I don't want to work until I'm 65 years old. So it's like, it's always been in the back of my mind. Like, I don't want to be the person that's always working. No. So like, I'd rather work like full on in my 20s and then slow down a bit in my 30s. Then in my 40s, get to travel the world. Like, everything is on automation. I just get to travel. And now I had to sit down with myself and be like, okay, if I want to achieve that, how am I going to go about putting a strategy forward? So I thought, okay, let me have a successful career in journalism. Let me start a business that will be able to get me financial freedom, basically. And then let me also invest. So while I'm still young, I'm able to invest. Then all those 3 are put together. And I thought, okay, Successful Journals is my company. Successful Journals was born in 2017. I was still at Inside Man Media. But what I did with it was, instead of going full on with the business, I was just doing research throughout the years, putting everything slowly but surely together. And then this year it was registered as a private limited company. And then what we do at Successful Journals, it's a luxury and wealth magazine specializing in high-end articles, videos, and podcasts about Africa's wealthy individuals. Now, with that said, it puts together the success stories of everyone but successful, and it connects them with the aspiring entrepreneurs, the future billionaires. So, ba umdu uhlala eNyanga or uhlala eKanana or uhlala eBarcelona njalo njalo, all of them are able to get that story for less data on the website, and it will help them with their journey, with tips on how to break through in their industry, with tips on how to get their companies running, with tips from successful people that have been in their shoes, that have went through the challenges, the success stories, basically. And then it's also a media and consulting agency that helps with media publication, with press kits, with press releases, njalo njalo. That's one of the companies.
Wow.
And then the second one is the fruit store, which is the fruit store. So the fruit store is basically split into two companies, but it's one company. So the first part is we selling fruit and veg. We an actual fruit vendor selling fruit and veg. And then the second part of it, it's a podcast. So we'll be talking to musicians as well as entrepreneurs, just on their journey and what they've achieved. And then, in fact, namhlanje we have an interview with Usispo. She's a musician from a Philip. And then that's the fruit store basically. It's just to create awareness about the society. And then the third one, I'm not sure if I should mention this because it's not yet registered, but it's social sports marketing social media enterprise.
Yeah, no, you must mention it. So when are you? When are you launching it?
Yeah. I'm launching it early next year. Otherwise, it's already in order, set in place. The team is ready to jump on it.
Wow. So some good activities and good business concepts, which I think many of us have searched and looked for those when we were trying to figure things out. And I think it's very much needed because if you look for that information, you always find international based content and you never actually find local based content. And I think we need many of those for motivation, for inspiration, and for brainstorming to shape our future, beyond the workspace that one finds themselves in. So if now people have to look for your websites, they have to follow you on social media, where can they find this? Because I think this is quite valuable.
Okay, so the website for Successful Journals is www.successfuljournals.com, double C and double S in successful. And then the fruit store, it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then for Successful Journals, it's across all platforms as well. Facebook as Successful Journals, Instagram Successful Journals, Twitter @Succeed Business. But if you search Successful Journals, it will pop up. And then on LinkedIn as well, we very much big on LinkedIn for Successful Journals because it's that type of formal a company. And then it's Successful Journals as well there. And then we recently launched our website, so there's some nice content out there. And people can also subscribe on YouTube or on the mailing list on the website.
Wow. Now, as we end off this chat with you, Lonwabo, and I think we will pick some of these stories up as the time goes, what sort of message do you have for students, let's say sports management students, journalists, or anyone that aspires to be in any space?
All right, fantastic. I think it's always vital to follow your dream. It's always key. It's always vital because you don't want to be 70 years old sitting with regrets, whereas you're still young, you still got time, still got the energy. Everything that you put in, the universe will give back. And I go by 4 key letters, KSER. It's knowledge, strategy, execution, and results. So I know that if this is what I want to achieve, I have to get the knowledge and the wisdom. So how am I going to achieve it? I have to put down a strategy. And then, after the strategy, so what now? Execution. Because of now, as a plan engineer, we have to get into action, execution. And then the results. The results are very important because at the end of the day, you get to evaluate, this is what I did today, and this is what I have to do next week in order to get to that goal in 365 days or in 5 years or in 10 years. And then each and every day, prayer is important as well because we can't forget where we come from, where we are, and where we plan on going. And with that, the big G upstairs will always be with us. Yeah. And but we also have an NPO, Isa Marele Foundation. So that is helping homeless people as well as sports teams. And then we just do, we run around helping abantu in terms of izinto zovasa okanye ukutya. But yeah, that's just a bit of it.
Wow, doing quite a lot.
Let's follow your dream.
Yeah, doing quite a lot. As we end it, people always complain about the time. People say, I haven't got time for this, I haven't got time for that, or, time just runs out. I mean, like many people are so busy, with a busy schedule. How do you manage your schedule? How do you, as you talked about those 4 areas, how do you manage that schedule and that you consolidate your time, and when you look back and you reflect on the day and you say, I've achieved what I've set out for the day?
Yeah. So I think it's a matter of planning as well, because I plan what I'm going to do today. I planned it last week already. So I plan a schedule of 7 days. And then within that 7 days, I know that tomorrow, this is what I have to do. And then the following day, this is what I have to do. But I planned it 7 days already. So for instance, I already know that, okay, in Namhlanje, I have this interview. I have another podcast interview. After that, I have editing. And then tomorrow, I have another interview, Ksasa. I have writing that I have to do. And then make sure that the company, the admin is all up to date, get in contact with the team. Then the following day, I have a photo shoot. Following day is a sports documentary that I'm working on. Jalan. So I plan in a week advance, because time is precious. And yeah, I respect time, man. I genuinely respect time, especially now, because yeah, because previously I was like, okay, I'll just do this, I'll wing it. But I can't anymore, because we also in relationships. So if we're not giving our time to our families and our loved ones, and then there's gonna be like a lack of communication, and we don't want that.
Yeah, time is so precious, and good tips. And I won't add anything. It's clear, and I think our viewers will appreciate so much this chat that we had with you, Lonwabo. Thank you so much, and we wish you everything of the best, and we will keep following up on your stories and your journey as well.
Thank you for the invite, and I appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you, man. Lonwabo Marele, this man doing some wonders within our communities. We hope you enjoyed this chat with him, and we will see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sure.